This is the deposition of Mayor Greg Fischer, pursuant in the matter of Raymond Harper versus Louisville Jefferson County Metro Government, DBA, Louisville Metro Police Department. This case was filed in Jefferson County Court, case number 17-CI-3109. The deposition is being held at County Clerk's Office, located at 531 Court Place, Suite 900, Louisville, Kentucky, 40202. Taking this date, October 23rd, 2017. Counsel, please remember to introduce yourselves and whom you represent.
Thomas Clay, I represent the plaintiff. He's here in person.
Lisa Schweikert, I represent the Louisville Metro Government.
Jeff Mosley, General Counsel, Office of the Mayor.
I'm Matt Golden with the Jefferson County Attorney's Office.
Mayor Greg Fischer, would you please raise your right hand for me, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Can you tell us what you've done to prepare for your deposition today?
I scanned some documents.
Can you tell us what documents you scanned?
What's the official, the pleading, or what's the
Complaint.
The complaint, yes.
Have you looked at Metro Government's answer?
Yes.
Have you looked at the discovery responses filed by the plaintiff, Jimmy Harper?
Again, a quick scan.
What about the discovery responses filed by Metro Government? Have you looked at them?
I don't know the specific documents, but I scanned what I had.
Okay. Did you meet with anybody in preparation for your deposition?
Yes.
Who'd you meet with?
Lisa.
Anybody else?
This morning, the three of us met for 5 minutes.
How much time have you spent meeting with counsel?
For this right here,
Yes, sir.
probably 30 minutes maybe.
Okay. So you're familiar with the matter that brings us here then?
Yes.
What is your understanding of what this lawsuit is about?
Major Harper believes he has a case against Metro for actions taken against him.
As far as what? What actions do you understand were taken against him?
I think he believes some actions were taken against him because of some allegations that he made.
Okay. And do you know what actions he alleges were taken against him?
I believe he thinks that actions that he's taken led to the chief doing some type of personnel action against him.
Do you know what personnel action that was?
Demotion.
From what to what?
From he was major to lieutenant.
Were you consulted about that personnel action before it was taken?
No.
When was the first you learned of it?
I don't know the date, but I meet with the chief weekly and review a variety of matters.
So prior to the time the chief demoted Major Harper, you had no indication that he was going to demote him?
I can't recall if Major Harper was part of an overall change or an individual change. So he reviews changes with his command staff with me.
Well, I'm talking specifically about Major Harper, though. Did Chief Conrad share with you why he was taking the action to demote him from major to lieutenant?
Not specifically.
Is that something that you would be interested in as mayor?
Not really. I mean, chief runs the police department.
Okay. I want to ask you specifically about an incident that happened on September the 16th, 2016 at a summer fest that was hosted by Sherry Bryan Hamilton. Do you recall that?
In Shawnee Park?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Tell us what you recall about that.
I go to festivals all the time in the city, and I think it was in the evening, and it was her annual festival.
Who do you recall being present at that festival?
Well, there were probably 100 people or so, I guess, there, and so people from the community. Major Harper was there. I believe the councilwoman was there as well.
Did you have a conversation with Major Harper at that occasion?
Yes.
Tell us what you recall of that conversation.
Whenever I see a police officer, especially someone from the command staff, I just ask them how things are going and touch base with them.
Is that what you did on the night of September the 16th, 2016 with Major Harper?
Yes.
What was the subject matter of your conversation, if you recall?
Well, I mean, I've learned through this case that we talked about the reorganization of the police department.
Do you have independent recollection of that, or are you just basing that on your review of documents?
Primarily review of documents.
Was that about the time that Chief Conrad announced the reorganization that resulted in the elimination of flex platoons?
Yes.
Were you consulted about that reorganization before Chief Conrad implemented it?
We would have discussed that, yeah.
Did you have any input into his decision, or did you just basically leave it up to the chief as to how that would be executed?
I might have asked some questions, but again, the decision is his.
Did you understand if the chief had asked for any input from his command staff regarding that change in the organization of the Louisville Metro Police Department?
Yeah, I don't know that.
Do you recall any comments Major Harper made to you about his attitude toward this reorganization involving the flex platoons?
He expressed some concerns.
Do you recall what those concerns were?
No.
Did he agree with the chief's decision or disagree with it?
I believe he had a different point of view.
He disagreed with it, didn't he?
A different point of view, yes.
Sir?
A different point of view.
And he disagreed with the chief's decision to eliminate the flex platoons, didn't he?
Yeah, well, that's another way of saying a different point of view.
Well, I was just trying to be clear about it, that he didn't agree with the chief, though.
Okay.
Is that true?
Yeah,
And he expressed that to you.
yes.
And that opinion had to do with the management of the Louisville Metro Police Department, didn't it?
I don't know that.
Well, who's responsible for managing the police department?
But the chief is.
And the decision to reorganize the department to eliminate the flex platoons was a management decision, wasn't it?
The chief made that decision.
And Major Harper didn't agree with that, correct?
That's fine.
Is that true?
That's what he expressed.
Okay. So, once he expressed his disagreement, did you have any discussion with Chief Conrad about the conversation you had with Major Harper?
If I did, it was not immediate discussion.
Well, did you ever have a discussion with him about it? About Major Harper's expression of disagreement with that reorganization?
You know, I don't recall.
Did you instruct anybody on your staff to have a discussion with Chief Conrad about that issue that Major Harper had with the flex platoon?
I don't think so.
Do you have any idea how Chief Conrad would have learned of that within a matter of a day or two, to the extent that he called Major Harper in and counseled him about that statement?
Objection 4. You may answer if you can.
I've mentioned our discussion to my chief of staff, Ellen Hessen.
Do you know if Ms. Hessen contacted Chief Conrad about Major Harper's statements to you?
Not specifically, no.
Do you think, and is it true, sir, that his comments were made in response to a question that you had posed to him about how things were going in the department?
I generally ask everybody how they think things are going.
Well, I'm talking about this case in particular, though, not what happens generally. Was Major Harper's answer about the reorganization involving the flex platoons in response to a question you posed to him?
I don't specifically recall that.
If you had asked him a question about his view toward this reorganization, you would have expected him to tell you the truth, wouldn't you?
I would expect for him to tell me his opinion.
Truthfully.
Well, opinions are opinions.
Sir, that's not my question. You would have expected Major Harper to tell you the truth, whether it was his opinion or whether it was a matter of fact, wouldn't you?
Well, there's a difference between what somebody believes and what the truth may be.
Okay. Did you expect Major Harper to be truthful in his response to your question about his opinion of the reorganization of the Louisville Metro Police Department?
Yes.
Do you believe he was truthful?
With his opinion, yes.
Do you have any reason to doubt the truthfulness of what he told you?
Well, again, I don't have any doubt that he was truthful with what his view was.
Okay. And that's what you would have expected when you asked him a question, was the truth, right?
The truth of his opinion, yes.
Okay. So, do you have any knowledge about a conversation that Chief Conrad had with Major Harper following this meeting on September the 16th?
No.
Are you aware that there was a counseling statement issued to Major Harper regarding this conversation?
No.
I want to show you what we marked as Exhibit 1 here. And ask you if you can identify that. Have you ever seen it before?
No.
Have you ever seen a form like this, a performance observation and supplemental evaluation form?
I don't believe so.
And for the record, this is an LMPD form 06-, well, actually the Bates number is 060044, correct? Down there at the bottom right-hand corner.
060044?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Gee, just to clarify for the record, I think that must be the form number. That's not the bait stamp number, I don't think, that we used.
Okay, thank you. We'll let that be clarified. It's a form number.
I think that's what it is. That's not a bait stamp number.
Okay, and it's revised 2/14. Okay, you've never seen one of these before?
I don't believe so.
So, you know Lieutenant Colonel Kim Preissig.
Yes.
She was a patrol commander in September 2016, is that correct?
That's what it indicates, I believe so.
Okay, and then I'm going to ask you questions specifically about this. This performance observation is a follow-up from the counseling session held by Chief Conrad and I on September the 19th, 2016. Did I read that correctly, sir?
Yes.
Were you aware of that counseling session on September the 19th, 3 days after this conversation you had with Major Harper?
No.
We discussed the importance of following the chain of command when addressing departmental issues. Are you familiar with this chain of command situation?
Yes.
What do you understand Major Harper's chain of command to be between him and you?
Would be him, Lieutenant Colonel, and then the Chief.
Okay. Also covered in the meeting was a negative impact from violating the policy criticism of the department. Well, I want to go back to that previous statement. Are you familiar with the Whistleblower Act, sir?
Vaguely.
How did you obtain your familiarity with it?
Just through reading and exposure over the years to the Whistleblower Act.
Okay. I want to show you what we marked as Exhibit 2 here. And this is KRS 61.102. Do you understand that to be part of the Whistleblower Act, sir?
Not specifically those numbers, but if it's on this paper, I would accept that.
Okay. And getting back to the performance appraisal, we discussed the importance of following the chain of command when addressing departmental issues. Are you familiar with this provision of the Whistleblower Act, sir, in 61.102, subparagraph 1, the last sentence in there that says, "No employer shall require any employee to give notice prior to making such a report, disclosure, or divulgence." Were you aware of that, sir?
I've not read this before.
Okay. So, does it appear that the position taken by Colonel Krausig in this counseling statement is inconsistent with the whistleblower statute that does not require an employee to follow the chain of command or notify his employer?
Objective form.
I'm not,
Sir?
I don't have the knowledge to comment on that.
You don't?
No.
Okay. Do you believe that an employee has to follow the chain of command before making a whistleblower protected disclosure?
No.
Well, that's what this performance evaluation is saying here, isn't it? That-
Objection to form.
Let me finish. Oh, you can object to it. This performance evaluation is saying that he has to follow the chain of command when addressing departmental issues, doesn't it?
It says we discussed the importance of following the chain of command when addressing departmental issues.
Do you see any problem with that statement in the performance observation and the statement in the Whistleblower Act?
I think you're asking me interpretation questions on both pieces of paper, which I don't have the knowledge to address.
Okay. Well, who in Metro government would, if you know?
I would defer to counsel on that.
You don't know who could tell us whether this provision of this performance evaluation is inconsistent with the Whistleblower Act or not? You can't tell us who could do that?
I believe I just did.
You'd have to defer to counsel. Well, I can't take their deposition, though. I'm looking for somebody in Metro government who could answer that question.
I believe the mayor's answered the question. He doesn't know, and he would have to defer to council.
Okay, that's his answer. Also covered in the meeting was a negative impact from violating the policy, criticism of the department. Did you understand Major Harper's statements to you to be criticism of the department?
I just took his comments as his opinion of what he thought was going on in the department.
Okay, well, it's written here that he was counsel about the negative impact from violating the policy, criticism of the department. Did you take his statements to you, where they were opinion, facts, or whatever, the statements he made to you as